Hello, everybody. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. We have Dr. John Scott Perez back with us again, Allison B. And now he's got a new product, Braco B, and it's got great health benefits. We're going to be talking about those. Of course, Allison with the garlic has great benefits. And now this is pretty incredible. I've been using it myself for a little bit now. We're going to talk about it. So, Scott, how you been?
All right, man. I'm just hanging in there. It's been hot and humid in Florida. I know you just were visiting Mickey Mouse over there in Orlando, so you know what it's like.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
been
wasn't that bad there though. We had rain. It was overcast, so it wasn't bad. It's kind of like what we have here now. It's overcast. It's like cooler than it has been.
a month ago. It was blistering hot, and then we had a lot of storms. But knock on wood, we haven't had any hurricanes, and I'm not up for any hurricanes. I'm just
I know the hurricanes are happening. I think this weekend there's going to be a hurricane in Hawaii, first time ever.
I've been at Hawaii during a hurricane. The waves are huge.
Very good.
They're incredible.
So yeah, that's incredible. The sea temperatures are really high. It's causing all kind of craziness all over the world right now. El Nino, uh, probably going to be a record setter as far as temperatures in the ocean.
Well, there seems to be a lot of chaos going on. These earthquakes and fires and uh,
Hmm.
you know wars and cyber wars.
Yeah,
A lot of stuff that we talked about communications and the cyber war that's going on. It feels like there's a bio war going on in the background that's been going on for some time, which is part of the reason that I created the Allison V product that we talked a lot about.
hmm
I had long COVID, and I struggled with SARS-CoV-2, and you know that story, and I've told that story in depth, in detail, relative to the garlic plant. So I was thinking in my head, what else could I look at? Are there other plants and their hidden codes? So this plant, like all plants, are DNA coded. They are engineered. And so this particular plant had this molecule in it that was unstable, that was therapeutic, that wasn't unleashed. And I found a way to unleash it using modern physics and off the shelf technology. And I was sick. I proved that. The story is there, the facts are there. There's a fight going on related to this that is upsetting, but before I go down these rabbit holes with you, and I will, the point is this is a coded entity. So there's 400,000 plants on planet Earth,
Mm.
and a lot of plants have aromatic compounds, which means you breathe them in.
hmm
So I have been kind of looking at this journey for some time relative to books like the Bible in Genesis 1, but other books, because the plants were created first. There's all these probabilities relative to these codes being created by higher power, not just randomly occurring, and having therapeutic functions. So most people affiliate these plants with food, okay? And yes, there are a lot of supplements, but what happened is there was a big gap in human technology. And for whatever reason, it doesn't make sense on why it is we weren't leveraging inhalation, because we've leveraged things like eating food, patches with the X-wave stuff, injections. Injections are not practical though. So when it comes to the battlefield, like, okay, no one has to tell you about fighting in wars or battles or any of that. But when it comes to the battlefield of these respiratory infections,
Mhm.
it turns out that the battlefield is you're inhaling into your lungs, it's going through your pulmonary tract, your left ventricle, which is then passing oxygen. Typically, this is a path of oxygen to your brain. So this path is your energy path because you're taking in the oxygen, you're using it for mitochondrial energy in your heart, which has 5 to 7,000 mitochondria, and immediately to your brain. It's pushed immediately to your brain. That's an engineering design to push that oxygen to your brain so that way, for instance, if your whole body cramps up and you're in atrophy, your muscle tissue only has around 250 to 500 mitochondria. The heart has 5,000 to 7,000, so that if you're cramped up, it's still beating. And that's by design, it's engineering design. So the pathogens that we've been dealing with all this time, these respiratory pathogens, they're attacking us on a battlefield, the lungs, the respiratory tract.
Yep.
They're attacking us at our point of vulnerability as a machine. It's a really a DNA operating system, but as a machine.
Yep.
So there's no surprise, really, that it's always a respiratory thing. There's always a respiratory problem involved with all these things, HIV, SARS, even the influenzas, it's bronchial, but that's a kind of a point. So you're being attacked there. So in the beginning with Allison, the problem was having a safe, known therapeutic put on your lungs from a plant. That already went through. So the probability of these codes was 400,000 plants. I was looking for other plants that hadn't been unlocked. And so I first looked at broccoli, and I didn't realize that I was actually eating broccoli wrong. So it turns out when you eat broccoli, you're supposed to mince broccoli just like garlic. You're supposed to mince it, let it sit there for 30 minutes, and then eat it.
Wow.
And that is because the plant has a precursor molecule just like this one. This one has allele in it. You mince it, you wait, it produces about 4% allicin, the allele, an enzyme called alanase stitches it together. Over here, you have this molecule called glucophorophan, and there's a enzyme called myrosinase in it. So when you mince it, myrosinase converts the glucophorophan to a molecule called sulforaphane. And sulforaphane is a well-studied, researched, understood molecule, okay, that has a lot of therapeutic benefits. But this also is a coated plant. Well, I found that interesting. This broccoli also has 1.5 times more sulfur than garlic.
Wow.
So what happens is with these two plants, you get all these, we all know, you get all these discussions about eating this and getting bloated and getting gas. And allicin won't go in your blood. That's a problem. It gets digested. Here, you have similar problems. So with the broccoli, and I know you're showing right now the therapeutic map. With the broccoli, though, if you eat a lot of it, a lot of people, eat broccoli, they get real bloated and they have gas. And so that whole problem with digestion with these plants that have these molecules in it is that when you get bloated like that, your body doesn't absorb properly the molecule and get it in your blood. And it certainly does not bring it to your lungs, your pulmonary tract, your brain, and your blood quickly. So what happens is you don't get the full therapeutic effect. And even people who that eat the supplements, you don't get the full therapeutic effect. So I figured I started looking at the sulforaphane. I saw the similarities between these. I realized that I've been eating a lot of broccoli, a ton of it as a type 2 diabetic. I've been eating tons of it. I just wasn't mincing it. I was never mincing it. So I looked, this garlic is several million years old. This product here was the product of farming in Sicily and southern Italy in 600 BC. So this broccoli came to be from farming cabbage and human engineering really in the farming fields, and then it spread to Europe in the 18th century, and then it spread around the world. Yeah. So that was the result of the farming, which I find interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But we do this a lot today with, all the things that, modern farming. We produce optimal genetic codes and things like that. Anyway, it's just a fact. And then you had these people in the Roman Empire again who ate this before going in battle. This was cherished in the Roman Empire, and they ate it because of the sulforaphane. And it turns out there's a lot of supplements here, and there's been a lot of studies, like I mentioned before. So the problem that's been going on with the broccoli is that people did studies with the supplements, and people did do research with sulforaphane in like mice and rats and whatnot, where they inject them. But when they got to human trials and people did the supplements for things like COPD and these other things that are on that chart that you showed a minute ago, which we'll go into in 1 second, they were somewhat inconclusive, and they gathered all this data. Well, I've heard that story before. So yeah, there is the small molecule path where you're inhaling oxygen, you're going through the lungs to the left ventricle up into the brain. Well, the same thing with therapeutics. You can deliver them the same way, and instead of injecting into an artery and going through your liver and getting oxidized before you have the opportunity to the brain, you're going directly to the brain very quickly. Okay. And when you look at these benchmarks, if you orally eat something and it goes in your stomach, it takes 48 hours to digest. So this is all physics. When you inhale something, it's 1 millisecond on your lungs. It's only a couple milliseconds to deliver these small molecules to your brain. So sulforaphane can go to the brain. But these particular areas that you're showing right here on the chart, if you go back to the other one that you were showing a minute ago, the broccoli homepage, I'm going to show that one. And this is kind of cool. I think you'll find how this all came to be. So I'm looking at this first, and I'm like, wow, this is interesting. It's somewhat therapeutic to your cardiovascular system, to people with diabetes, because one of my interests was, I'm interested, because I've had pancreatic damage from methylprednisone. I'm interested in finding ways to get my insulin to work better and to get my cells to accept glucose and use them for energy and get more energy out of my cells, because as a diabetic, I have this problem with eating metformin that I can't go and lift a whole bunch of weights or exercise, or I burn my muscles up, and I don't want to do that. So the other ones here are cancer, neurodegeneration. So my interest there is, I have a sick relative. It's my mom. She got long COVID. She got Alzheimer's. So there's research in this area, and specifically with a p-tau blood marker that's an early onset for Alzheimer's that we're tracking with her. Obesity is another factor. So I put this as the front image in the publication on the website because it's simple and it just has a couple bullet points. And it's easy for people to see something like this and say, oh, well, there's some value there. Well, I was looking at it, and the reason that all this came to be is very simple. So on December of 2019, up into July 15th of 2020, I huffed 8 bottles of this albuterol rescue inhaler. I huffed it because I couldn't breathe, and I got to where I was huffing it every 1 hour.
Wow.
Okay. And that's bad because this can give you a heart attack. So on July 15, 2020, I started using Brio because I have a relative. Started using Brio. This is like the 27th bottle of Brio. And I've been tracking this. So in June, I go to my doctor, my allergy specialist who prescribed this, right? And did all my allergy work and all my testing. And where I have been is I've been with the Allison B product. I got off Molnucast as long COVID left. I've been using this every couple of weeks because I still had a problem with my respiratory function. When I would go outside and mow the yard, or when the pollen was falling like it does in Florida with the noodles and the pollen was high, I would get an allergy reaction that was not quite asthmatic, but it was, yes, you can crush garlic. So you crush garlic and mince it, you're going to produce 4% allicin. So what we did was we hacked that reaction to produce 100% allicin outside the plant, and that's how the Allison B product was created. But then if you eat it, you're not going to do much with it. So that's a second physics problem. Anyway, back to what I was saying.
So when you vape it, so
Yes.
it's in that little capsule there, and I started vaping it a long time ago, and it's been very effective for me. When you vape it and it goes into your lungs, the alveoli, they're transferring the allicin to the blood cells, and the blood cells are transporting it. Is that how this works?
So anything that's on the surface of your lungs like this,
Yeah.
these will get cracked open. I know I have my famous, so these little spike proteins, my famous little spike protein model,
Right.
they will get cracked open. When they get cracked open, your body learns the pocket and produces antibodies. It doesn't matter if these are from your cat or your dog or the Wuhan lab. This is the beautiful part of the allicin. It builds it to a conserved region for the entire genome of 63,477 plus viruses in GenBank. So you can build immunity and they can release stuff on you. And as long as you use the Allison B product, your immunity is invoked and it will clean up all of these. Well, this is carrying code. So what happens is these little envelope proteins that hold the little spikes on here, that hold the code inside and protect it, crack this open and the RNA springs out. So when it cracks, the RNA springs out. RNA is super, super sensitive and digests. Okay. You don't want the code going into your DNA operating system of your cell, because once it goes in, the difference between something like a sarin gas pathogen or any kind of toxin that you'd use in a biological in a chemical war, like the stuff we gave the Iraqis that they used on Iran that we had to go back and get. This stuff, okay, just one of these goes inside of you and it can make millions of them using your own energy and your own source and take over your body and kill you. So it's a different kind of warfare where the toxin is self-replicating. Now, the allicin, the other thing that it does is it has a hall pass. So it goes through your cells on your lung tissue. It goes inside and your cells accept it. And this is all published information. When it goes inside your cell, if you've been infected by one of these viruses already, you're sick. Okay. Now what happens is your cell has been hijacked. It's like a cyber security denial of service type of situation where code has been put on your network or your computer or whatever. Now it's been put in your DNA operating system. Well, when the allicin comes in, it's trying to make copies of spike proteins and viral components, little envelope proteins, and it's manufacturing its components off the endoplasmic reticulum. Well, what happens with allicin is as those proteins are being manufactured off the endoplasmic reticulum before they fold into a spike protein, which is a trimer, the allicin will hit it right there and it'll keep it from folding. It'll keep the disulfide bridges from forming. The folding occurs in the Golgi body and then the cell excretes it. Okay, it's all manufacturing. The envelope proteins as well. It turns out that the protease is also inhibited with allicin, and that's the big fight that I'm having with the patent office over everything that's going on, which we should talk about a little bit about the system that is inhibiting us from the truth, which one of the tentacles is this patent office problem.
Yeah, wow.
Intellectual property. And okay, so this is the virus that goes in there, but so does the mRNA. So if you took then what happens is it doesn't matter whether it's mRNA. It doesn't matter if it's modified mRNA where the nucleotides being used don't digest quick so that they could get in you, or oops, we accidentally gave you a plasmid from Pfizer with SV40 promoter and another pathogen known to cause cancer accidentally got in your cell, transfected using a lipid nanoparticle encapsulation. This is encapsulated. The lipid nanoparticles encapsulate these codes. They put them inside you. So you got the plasmid inside you. Now you're making spike protein. You're not assembling the whole virus, but you're making spike protein. Well, the spike protein is pathogenic. We know all this. The clotting, Kevin McCarran with the amyloidosis, he's studied it well. It's all published stuff. So to get that plasmid, now the plasmid is the hardest thing to get. So when you hit the spike protein being made by the plasmid off your endoplasmic reticulum, just like the viral components, when you hit it, you cause the cell to malfunction. And so you're at a path now with not just the pathogenic viruses, but the vaccines and the technologies used there, right? Where either you've got 50 cell divisions and that cell dies. That was published in 1994 by Dr. Tisha DeLange, one of my colleagues. She's NY Rockefeller. Or you get cancer cell programming. And we know what's happening now with the turbo cancers. So the point is that we've now, thanks to you, okay, you have a great platform and you've done a great service to your country. I want you to know this, and the world, because you have people that view you from all over the world. The point is that we, all of the Allison V customers, and we've always said from the very beginning, look at the SARS-CoV-2 antibody response. Your body is making antibodies, is trying to make antibodies to this. It does a bad job. They hit your liver, they hit your heart, and they hit everything else, but they try, okay? So look for the response, and you know you have a problem. So people with transfected plasmids, they have a bad problem with these antibodies, SARS-CoV-2 antibodies in their blood. You can go get this test, go get it at Quest Labs, LabCorp, or wherever. And if you have that problem, you track it. And what we've always said for infected people is track that, watch it go down, but you want to do the same thing. You want to do the same kind of thing with if you've taken the, with the plasmid. And so we find that people that have actually had the plasmid transfection, they make huge amounts of antibody for long times, like years, longer than, and you can make them for a long time with these are just, they call them vectors. So this is just a vector carrying code, a lipid nanoparticle. It forms around my cell just like this without the spikes, carries that code into you. It's all about code infection, code integration, code injection of your DNA operating system. Then you get all the anomalies of the machine. So I mentioned you can do the blood tests, and we've done these blood tests, okay? And we've been forced to do it out in the open blindly with customers, and we have a ton of that data. And this is where you go from being anecdotal to you got thousands of people. So my own personal medical records were subpoenaed by Ashley Moody. I presented to the Surgeon General. Okay, but I gave a lot away. And then with your help, I've collected a lot of data from people. And the fight right now, which is unclear, there's a battle going on in the United States Patent Office. And I don't fully understand all the reasons why, but we have a general problem with intellectual property. And I will tell you what the problem is, because it's been a heated debate, and then we'll go back to the broccoli stuff. I want to take that plasmid as a scientist who's honest and want to bring the data forward to Americans, right? I want to take that plasmid and I want to transfect human cell line. And then I want to screen on plates and cultures things like all the things that have been discussed in social media since the beginning of this COVID-19 pandemic and before. Ivermectin, fenbendazole, nattokinase, allicin, all the different things. I want to screen them all, and then I want to truthfully say to the public, here's exactly how every therapeutic works. These are the truth. This is the benchmark. No lies, right? So that way we can help people that took that and they can see the truth and they can have a chance to get their life back, right? But we cannot do that. We can't do it. We cannot do it because the intellectual property owned by the companies that created the plasmids makes it illegal. It's illegal for us to do this. Now, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense because look, you got Americans. This is America. We're supposed to be the land of the free. United we stand, divided we fall. So I saw Rand Paul's got some bills out there to stop the creation of the pathogens. What we really need is some legislature that says, well, we're no longer going to have inhumane intellectual property walls of any kind. An emergency occurs, now we're going to enable stand-up American scientists. They're all out there. There's a lot of them. You've interviewed so many of them. We're going to enable them and fund them to collect the data so that we can help people and let customers make a choice of how they want to consume the product and see the real results, not what we've had, which is a lot of chaos and arguing and we waste our energy. Okay. We need the facts, and that's the truth. So Dr. Lapo is a stand-up person. I gave the 20 page PowerPoint to him with the codes, showed him the codes. And because we were in a politically charged environment and the man has been justified, and I have a ton of respect for him, but he got it. So it was, all of that came to be. It was so simple. There are 2 publications in the Journal of Virology. One was gene knockout of the spike, and one was gene knockout of the envelope. That's how I got the targets. All I had to do was go find the molecule and make it hit the target. And, you know, it's, I had the bullseye. I needed the bullets in the gun. So I built the bullets in the gun, and then this wasn't good enough mincing. I had to take this and combine it with molecules and other things from corn and soy to get the yield to go to 100%. Because Allison is, in this case, Allison is unstable. It's heat sensitive and all these problems. It turns out sulforaphane is not unstable like Allison. It is somewhat heat sensitive, but both these things have digestive problems. So back to my long COVID.
Legislation, like you were talking about, Dr. Joseph Lapido. So he was fully on board. He got a lot of pushback. So we never got the legislation from Florida that we probably could have gotten that would have gone to all the other states. Florida's kind of like a standalone. And you helped that, I believe.
Well, it wasn't just Latipo. So in that meeting was Dr. Kenneth Shepke. He's the deputy director of Department of Health, and Cassandra Paisley, who was the lawyer, and then my friend Dr. Mark Abdoni, whom I knocked COVID out of. They blessed what I showed them, and that could have saved millions of lives. Okay, and this is where this business of
it still can, because I had people in my chat say they've gotten COVID like 5-6 times. You know, they refuse to get that shot in the arm, but which doesn't make any difference either, because we know a lot of people that have had that, you know, still get COVID. There's a huge outbreak in China now. So yeah, that's something that's still relative. It's not like relevant. It's not like, you know, we're past that now. We're not past that.
We're not. Yeah, we're not. Okay, so the codes will never leave planet Earth.
Yeah.
That's the thing about nuclear bombs and bullets and stuff. When the war's over, it leaves. No, these codes will never leave planet Earth. You'll have mutants and other things. So what's happening now, it's interesting that you said this, because I've been looking at this data. We're having a 20% outbreak in China.
Right.
We got 1.9 billion people. Well, those people aren't just staying in China. They're traveling all around. So as they travel, this spreads. Well, guess what? We're having outbreaks in the United States. Friends of mine that are professionals working at ERs are like, we're seeing the uptick in COVID. There's a great website. I think it's called, I was just looking at it. PMC. I want to make sure I get the right name here.
You also said, I didn't quite completely catch what you said about the cancer rates exploding. What did you say about that? And that was from the COVID back scene.
So, where the heck there's a, I think it's well, it's over here. I wanted the cancer problem. So that goes back to Dr. Tisha DeLange. So with all of these things, when a cell is infected by an SV40 pathogen, or there it is, pmc19.com. When a pathogen, and she published this in 1994. So my doctoral work was in cancer and aging with Nobel laureates that have very big egos and well-known professors. So this paper and the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 1994, she cites human papillomaviruses and SV40 viruses and anything that gets in your cell that causes inflammation. Once that cell becomes dysfunctional, it'll divide 50 times and die. Or it'll divide 50 times and you get cancer. Well, that was a huge thing. And in this circle that I worked in, the 2000 Nobel Prize winners, 3 of them, Jack Szostak, Carol Greider, and Elizabeth Blackburn, discovered telomerase. Well, telomerase is this enzyme that maintains the end of the chromosome, and it's all about code and information. And the maintenance of that is tied to aging and cancer. So in cancer, the end of the chromosome will shrink and then become immortal. Well, that uptick of telomerase is dormant in an adult cell. The uptick of telomerase, okay, is a signature of you're starting cancer. Well, back there in 1994, there were no assays for single cell or single cell biopsy in a human being. We were all working in ciliates. So Tom Cech is really the godfather of all of this, right? The godfather of telomere work, which Elizabeth and Carol and Jack Szostak came out of his lab. My PI came out of his lab as well. Telomerase came out of his lab. So people are looking at that problem, right? Well, you want to talk about miracles. During COVID-19, when I come with all the after I come up with a product, I meet with a Surgeon General, I'm giving the product away, right? So then my friend, who's an ER doctor in Texas, in a chain of approximately 12 of these emergency room hospitals, I'm giving product to, and she's giving the product to cancer patients to protect them from COVID-19, or they have COVID-19 and they go in remission.
Wow.
And she comes back to me, okay, and says, Scott, look at this paper. I start laughing. It's all my old friends. So then I'm using, in my case, I'm using all the tools in my tool house. So one of the things that we do in this field is we look at the proteins. We look at these professionally. I made this simple for somebody to see with a little fear insight to make it easy for people to understand that aren't deep in science. But we use programs like PyMol, and now NVIDIA is in this space where I can look at that molecule and I can look at it in 3 space like a part on a machine, and I can use computing power and mathematics to tell me, because these are all sugar coated, which is a major problem with these pathogens, which is why your body can't make the antibodies. I can use it to tell me and show you, which is what I do in these images, how small allicin is and how it can navigate the sugar molecules and break the disulfide bridges to break it open. And I can do it mathematically with physics that are real world and simulation that are real world, that make it a candidate as a small molecule that go beyond, hey, I'm just anecdotally saying these things that are in these other patents today or in wives' tales and all these things. You can prove these things, and then you can prove that the targets, the disulfide bridges, in which I've done. You want to see a picture of that? Would you like to see a picture of it, or do you have one?
Yeah, if you want to share it.
Yeah, I'll share it. I'll share it real quick. Let me make sure I have it on the screen. So
I was sharing. Barry Manilow had a canceled concert. He was he did a New York concert back in 2021. We Love New York City concert, celebration of New York City's comeback. The concert promoted health, safety, and equity. All performers, staff, crew, and attendees were required to show proof of COVID vaccination. Now he has lung cancer, right? So, and I guess he's having to cancel shows right now. And there was one with Rod Stewart, same situation. He was very angry at the unvaccinated. He said it was not our right to not get vaccinated. And he's coming down with cancer problems as well, having been vaccinated and boosted. So is Allison V and this Barack V potentially something that these knuckleheads and good people, if we can go to that other direction, could actually benefit from?
absolutely. So my mom went to Paul Anka and wanted to go to Barry Manilow. My wife bit the bullet, and she's been seeing all these people when she was younger, including Elvis.
Nice.
Wanted to go and go to these things, but he canceled. So he canceled all his shows, and they couldn't go. Okay, hopefully I can show the right. All right, there it is. So this is the. Oops. Yeah, you see it.
Mm-hmm.
This is the spike protein, and the yellow lines show you where these disulfide bridges are. And you can see how small that allicin molecule is. It's really tiny. By the way, this is all of this discussion that we're having now is on the AllisonV.com website under the anti-pathogen tab. And the cancer stuff is there too. But look how small that molecule is. It's the bullet hitting that yellow target, and that's what breaks the protein open.
Mm-hmm.
When you break it open, now your body makes the antibodies like I showed you. Well, those targets were proven in gene knockout. They were proven. So what happens with cancer, you want to talk about a miracle. This is the miracle that Karma Doc found, Dr. Rena Sawyer, who's in, she's a former MASH doctor. She was in Kosovo during the war over there. Here, okay, this is telomerase, the enzyme that Dr. Tisha DeLange proved in 1994 gets kicked on when you get things like SV40 or SV40 plasmids in you. You get the 50 cell divisions. Now you got cancer. Okay. Well, what I'm showing you here in this picture, this is telomerase. And by the way, this isn't DNA. It's an RNA template that makes that telomere. But these two yellow lines are the cysteines. And what that SASA calculation is, it's a solvent accessibility calculation for an area of exposed disulfide bridge bond in that molecule. And there's the allicin molecule, and you can see how tiny it is. Well, they had the papers that she brought me, and there's a whole bunch of them, show allicin taking it out.
Wow.
And there's two targets, okay? And the physics matches. So this is why it happens. And when you break this thing open, it can't maintain the end of the chromosome. And now that cell will die. It won't it won't go any further. So when you combine, okay, when you combine things like Allison V, Allison, with things like selenium, because it's this code and there's more to the DNA operating system, you want to slam the brakes on all manufacturing of protein in a cell that's been transfected by a plasmid or pathogen of any kind. You want to slam the brakes. And how you do that? You do that with a 21st amino acid, selenocysteine, which is why you eat the selenium in Brazil nuts or the supplement, which is cheaper. 100 micrograms for a female a day, 200 micrograms for a male. Don't overdose. Talk to your physician. Full disclaimer. Slow that down. Then the ivermectin and fenbendazole have to do with metabolic function in the cell. So you want to slow that metabolic down. So when it comes to cancer, you cocktail, and maybe you have your therapeutic that your physician, you've subscribed to your physician in your treatment. And these cocktails together work to get rid of the cancer problem. Okay? So that is a miracle. After that, we learned that the Chinese had been injecting people with the allicin right into the tumor. They would image you, find your tumor, they would inject the allicin in it. If you had multiple tumors, they would inject Taxol over here on this one and allicin over here on this one, compare the results, and they found out the allicin was incredible relative to Taxol. Taxol is an extremely expensive anti-cancer agent that comes from the bark of the yew tree. These are all plant molecules. What did the Chinese do? Do you think they translated it, put it in a nice journal article, and share it with the Western world? No. Here's how we're back to intellectual property and how these systems work. The Chinese went in the European Union Patent Office through the treaty between the European Patent Office over here and the American one, which is called the PCT Treaty. They got their patent, and then by default, they got an American patent. So while I'm a scientist and I understand the patent system and the benefits of it, now your situation is with Allison B. I don't need to give myself 20 shots a day and an MRI machine to tell me where the tumors are. I inhale it. I put it in my lungs and my blood. The blood is the highway that takes the allicin. The tumor inhales it, just like it inhales the selenium and the other things that are in your blood that you're fighting with, ivermectin or fenbendazole. I mentioned this cocktail. If you go to the Cancer Health tab, this discussion is laid out in simple terms so that people can understand what is going on there. Okay? So now is a good time to go back to the Brockovine. So up until June 20th.
In the chat, are dead cells the cause of cancer, like zombie cells?
No, it's cancer cell programming. So you have normal cell programming. I've shown that. I'll show that. This diagram is important to see. Let me. People need to understand this diagram anyway. So I'll just open it. And we'll talk about very simple what cancer cell programming is on a very simple level. So that way the layperson can share screen. Okay. There it is. So this is what we are. Every being on this planet, whether it's a plant or animal, in the case of humans, we're talking about humans right now. We are DNA coded machines. You got 23 chromosomes of code from your mother and 23 chromosomes from your father on the majority of normal human beings. These codes produce normal RNA transcription through algorithms that are engineered that keep you as a machine in a normal state. That's what the middle is in black on the bell-shaped curve. When you get sick from anything, whether it's I got benzene in the water, I got a bacterial cold, I got cyclospora from the lettuce, I got COVID-19, I got the flu, I got cancer. Now you are on the red side of this bell-shaped curve. You are on the red side, and code destruction leads to aging and death. And so your doctors, they typically manage you back to normal. So cancer cell programming, though, when you get cancer cell programming in a cell, it's permanent. Okay, you're not going to recover that cell. And typically what happens is the body would take that cell and engulf it and clean it up and throw it in a garbage dumpster. Well, that whole process fails. It fails. And so what you have to do then is you got telomerase uptick when you're in the red with cancer. You got to hit the telomerase and then cause that cell to get killed. Or you've got to, in the case of the COVID plasmid from the jab, you've got to hit the cell making all these problems and make it abnormal. So then it goes and recognizes it's abnormal and gets cleaned up by this cleanup mechanism that's part of your immunity that cleans up abnormal junk, which it can do. Okay. Well, no one really ever talks about this green part over here. And this green part is super mode. So if you have negative modes, you got positive modes. That's the cool thing about these codes. So what happens is, and you're really not taught the RNA algorithm. This is very complex. This requires high-end AI computing, and to be honest with you, is going to require quantum computing, which is part of the reason they want to build 1 million data centers, which Larry Ellison said, oh, we want to make vaccines. This is all about the DNA operating system. This isn't about the C++ kernels in your Windows operating system or your Linux operating system or ChatGPT or all these other ones that make these languages. No, it's about you. It's about all the beings on the planet. So the DNA operating system is what is the target here. You go into super mode. When you go into super mode, you're experiencing things like all of a sudden I'm not getting sick anymore. All of a sudden I'm not getting sore when I lift weights or exercise. Or I have a huge amount of stamina. As a 60-year-old, I can pull all-nighters. I'm going to be 58, so I can pull all-nighters and I'm not tired. And so this actual diagram was downloaded into my head as an image at 3 o'clock in the morning, driving home from Pentagon City, July 13th, 2023.
Wow.
And I was up. I had been up like 14 hours driving all the way back to Tampa, Florida. I drove all the way back 55 years. I think I was 55 years old then. And I wasn't even tired. I saw truck drivers on the side of the road, all this. So that is when it dawned on me that these Roman soldiers, 27 BC, back there when we didn't have SARS-CoV-2, would chew this raw garlic to get the Allison to go into battle, pre-battle, to protect the battlefield of their lungs and to get stamina to go fight. And then it was the first banned substance in the Olympics. There's a plaque on the Great Pyramid. I've told a lot of these stories, so I don't want to take too much away from the broccoli. Okay, but that is how
it would also protect them from wounds. So if they got wounded, cut, sliced, whatever. Arm chopped off. Yeah, so it would definitely help them, for the wounds as well.
So the Allison M product, which this product will destroy flesh-eating bacteria. It'll destroy MRSA. And
Wow.
most on the lungs is really bad, but I got bit by a sewer spider in Helene, 8 inches of water. I showed pictograph of the sewer spider that bit me and the flesh eating bacteria that tried to eat my, and there's a scar on my left leg, but it destroyed it. It also destroys, like if you get Vibrio vulnificus from shellfish poisoning, like stone crab, it's
Mm.
5 times worse than strep throat. It gets, you put 2 drops of this on your throat, and that's the M. This is 3 to 4 times stronger than Allison V. Allison V is
You need to
three.
get this to those doctors or in your state that are treating the flesh-eating bacteria, especially during Hurricane Helene. It was a huge outbreak, lots of deaths. I think 19 people died, 82 outbreaks after Hurricane Helene because it basically, washed all the sewers and all that into the sea, and people had cuts or whatever. They got in the water and they got flesh-eating bacteria.
The
It's
soil is contaminated here to this day.
yeah.
North Carolina also. They were getting so sick up there. They were like, I had a lot of people in North Carolina. The FEMA people that came here to inspect here came from North Carolina. They were all sick. I was like, here, have some Allison V.
Wow.
Next thing you know, I got my FEMA check. Anyway, the soil is contaminated. I don't get colds anymore at all. Zero. After 50 years of getting colds, the Allison V stopped that. Well, my brother-in-law is a fireman. He brings home the stone crabs from Madeira Beach over there, where that marina over there, there's some firemen that go out and fish and bring the stone crabs back.
Mm-hmm.
We had an outbreak of the Vibrio vulnificus in the stone crabs in the Gulf. Okay. So this was in Christmas Day. My mom's birthday is Christmas Day. He gave the stone crabs to my mom. We ate them. Everybody enjoyed them. I got sick. At 6 o'clock, we had stone crabs. By 9 o'clock, my throat was on fire. So I created the Allison M product because, as I mentioned, 3 to 4 times stronger than Allison V. Allison V is 3 times stronger than the strongest garlic in the world, which is Philippines Locos garlic found in the Philippines. It's that strong. So to get these doses that are in the in vitro publications in the research and science literature that failed, because Peter Josling is the garlic king. He was in this way before me. I met him through Jeff Rentz. They were out there with Allison C product, which is combined with citric acid. They never had conclusive shutdown close to 100% of the common cold. They couldn't hit it. To get it, you had to go to vapor, and it's all about physics. So that tells you about the strength. This is designed. This will knock psoriasis off your scalp. People are using it for skin cancer destruction, and there's a whole bunch of publications on here. Well,
now you have two different types. You have the Allison V, and then you have the Allison V with the M on it.
this is Allison M, so it's not for inhaling.
I've used that on some spots, and it does clear them up. It's pretty impressive. Very good stuff.
This will, it's a super strong antibiotic. It'll kill MRSA. All this is published. It'll kill staphylococcus.
A lot of its cancer is just mold and fungus.
Yes, on anything. So that paper in 1994, any inflammatory condition in a cell that leads to it being abnormal, it's either going to die 50 cell divisions. Elephant garlic is just a larger bulb, not necessarily. Locos pink is the strongest. You can go out and look at this. South Korean garlic is like the second strongest in the world.
Yeah.
This is Spice World, and they grow in Mexico, Argentina, and California. In America, Gilroy, California is the garlic capital of the world. If you go over there and you're in Miles, it smells like garlic everywhere you go around there. these people working, that was another thing with all this and the vapors, right? There's a Roche assay, but look, people working in this field, they never had an OSHA report for breathing in garlic vapors. Nobody ever died. Nobody. That's a big hint. I was like, I'm telling the Spice World people, I'm like telling the Gilroy garlic people with elephant garlic that they grow out there, I'm like, you all need to do some work on your employees and see what their health is from breathing all in the vapors, because this is incredible.
Yeah. Wow.
But this did not stop me from the Brio. So here I am, okay, June 20th, 2026. I'm just now looking at this broccoli phenomenon. I know that if I eat too much broccoli, and a lot of other people, they won't eat broccoli, they won't touch it because they get bloated. I'm having this problem. And I see this molecule and I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is a similar story with the mincing, and I've been eating it wrong and I'm not getting my full therapeutic benefit. Then I see the clinical trials for COPD by the guy up at Johns Hopkins who's the expert, who's inconclusive and can't do the things that are being done in the rats. And I'm like, this is the same story again. So within days of June 20th, I make this product. This product here, Brockavi, which is on that page. I named it Brockavi because never in the history of the world has anyone ever put into vapor sulforaphane. Never. It's never been done before. Everybody knows about garlic and the aromas of garlic. Nobody ever did it. That's why I was so quick to file a patent. So this product is different. The Allison V product, you'll vape it, it turns dark, you throw it away. Okay, it's going to turn dark, and that's when the Allison has reacted with itself. It's no longer fresh, and it's no longer going to have the same benefits. This is the Brockavi product, and you'll notice that I'm not coughing at all today, at zero, even though I'm eating lisinopril for high blood pressure. This is that Brockavi product. It will drain. It will completely drain. Okay. This product is also, this is what happens. You inhale it. You don't put it in your sinuses like the Allison, because you're not treating your sinuses. Allison V allows you to treat your sinuses. This just drains, you put on your lungs. A couple of hits of this is equivalent to eating 1 pound of broccoli. And if you do it 20 times a day, 10 pounds of broccoli is a lot of broccoli. There's not a lot of humans that can eat 10 pounds of broccoli. Most people can't even eat a cup of broccoli. They get so bloated with the gas. And so what happened was...
It has a really good taste too, actually.
This is crazy. What happened is, days before June 20th, I was at my doctor. God bless Dr. Jack Perino. He's like, I'm not going to write you any more prescriptions of this till you need it. I'm like, okay, because I'm trying to beat this. I'm trying to figure out a way. Some spirit must have been speaking through him, a higher power. Because days later, it was June 20th. I used it for the last time, and I haven't used this since June 20th. I have never, since July 15, 2020, I have not gone this long, but you'll notice I don't cough anymore. And another weird thing happened, and this is all tied to all the research, but that nice diagram. And there'll be a lot of other, it does taste a little bit like broccoli. You'll have a little bit of broccoli taste on your tongue.
Yep.
All of a sudden, okay, of course, what am I going to do? I'm going to give it to people because I want to see their feedback. Because as any professional, you got to start collecting data and collect real stories. And I have real testimonies on my social media. Okay. And I want the truth. Okay. I want the truth, and the truth is more powerful. I need to know the truth. So I'm inhaling the broccoli, and all of a sudden I don't need this anymore. The next thing I noticed was I went outside and mowed the yard, and I didn't have an allergic reaction in my lungs anymore.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. And then I was outside trimming the trees and other stuff in my yard, or pressure washing or doing yard work, or doing, all of a sudden I wasn't even winded at all. So
Dang.
I did, with the Spain jersey, of course. I did some bench presses to show you that I wasn't coughing. Okay. Yes, I eat lisinopril. It causes these things in your lungs that make you cough. That has all gone away. And so, as a 58-year-old, and I've said this, I got my life back. I feel like I'm 35, and it's all the things now: exercise, Dr. Elliot Justin, the Harvard MD sex specialist, will tell you he's already tested the Allison product. We've had discussions about the broccoli product. It's all things exercise. So this is all also research published. It turns out that sulforaphane, and they benchmarked it. Okay, they benchmarked it against all these things like polycosanol, the one from resveratrol from grapes. They benchmarked it, and it has a higher bioavailability than all these antioxidants, and I published them. Okay, so yes, this is a huge dish in Sicily. So my mother is half Sicilian. Her first cousin was a godfather in Sicily. Operation Underworld, Operation Husky. That's my family. I have one side of the family come from Morocco to Sicily. My family pulled Luciano out of the tank when U.S. Army showed up with the L handkerchief and came out from New York and the whole deal in Normandy in the harbor in New York City, and how all of that.
This garlic and broccoli, that's in your blood, man.
Yeah, it is. And I was like, oh my God, it's a Sicilian thing. So Italy wasn't in the World Cup this year, but Spain was, and so I was rooting for Spain. But anyway,
you weren't rooting for your home team.
Oh, there's another castle in Spain. It's in Rosindi, Spain. So my mom's mother's last name is Rosindi. There's Rosindi, Spain. There's Casa Rosindi. It's a castle there. My father's bloodline comes from Spain, and the Spanish Armada spread their seed everywhere. You talked about pirates the other day and the Buccaneers, the real pirates. So we have the pirate parade here, Gasparilla. Right. Well, they went into Cuba. They went into South America. They killed a lot of Indians and natives. They went into Mexico. I've got relatives in all these places, and my 23andMe lights all that up. My ancestry, that's my father's side, and the other I've been to Madrid and met my relatives there. I've got relatives from Mexico and Cuba and all these places. So that's how the codes move around. And the codes are the codes, not the code for your kidney or your heart or your brain. Those don't wobble a lot. The junk code is your identity of not just your facial features, okay, and maybe your eye color and your skin, your skin color, your hair color, and your body shape, and all these things. It's your identity. It's your immunity, and it is exactly cipher keys that protect your body, so that when some other code like this one or the plasmid one are in your body, it says That doesn't match our code. It's foreign code, and it's a very elegant coded cipher security scheme of how these antibodies are produced, which is extremely complex, and nobody really has a full handle on it, not even to this day, which is why we don't have perfect therapeutics, because I think if we did, and I think what AI will unlock in these data centers and Project Stargate and all of these things, which people know, which I have been using AI since 1991 to create PCR primers, plasmids, plasmid constructs, and PCRs. We're going to find out that the people that engineered these codes, they put them down on day 3, they had computing power and AI power way beyond anything human that we've created yet. Question now is, does quantum computing unlock that?
Yeah. So you're talking about code breaking. That goes all the way back to World War II. So AI is nothing new. So they've been breaking codes and using the codes to create and so forth for a while. And of course, you're talking, ancient history.
I'm talking creation of hydrogen world. So my theories, where I go on all this, the hydrogen world is a physics design.
Right.
And there's a Frank Drake equation from 1963 that defined a hydrogen world like the space rock we live on, that we use to go looking in space with all of our technologies to see the other space rocks that look like ours that we're looking for life on. The signatures of it that we see on our planet. Okay, but where I have been with the data centers, because this is dear to my heart, 2014, I see MH370 fall in the ocean. I get a massive download that's a video. I write the white papers that talk about everything. There's a white paper from June of 2014 that talks about everything that's happening right now. It talks about data center energy draw on the grid, data center energy draw on the general population, water drought in the West. It's there. Water drought in the West, and water usage in farming and food creation and manufacturing tied to economics. This was not, okay, I'll share it. This was not, just so you know that I'm not making things up. I'll grab the image and actually show you one of the pages from the whole thing. Because what I figured out was that if we, as a global provider, if we did not have the ability to produce cheap energy, so in all these data centers, I mean, you wouldn't believe in Cat 5 data centers, the kind of power generation that you have 5 megawatt Ingersoll Rand and Kohler generators to the tune of 35 megawatts up at Temple Terrace here, the head end of FiOS. Okay, in a huge room with a 60,000 gallon diesel tank. Because you don't go down when you're providing TV service or emergency medical broadcasting or in these facilities with FAA, you've got to have lights and alternate power. Now it's in the gas stations. But look, as a communication provider, all the cell sites, this is all my turf. I didn't want to call. Anyway, I saw this in the data centers, okay? And I saw that sales were flat. And I saw that economic problems were occurring to brick and mortar and companies. I could see a company like Blockbuster closing its brick and mortar doors. Anybody, right? Macy's. It doesn't matter who you are. Because I own the surveillance systems globally, okay? Not just the United States, but globally to customers. So I'll share it. This is a page. This is a page from that document. June of 2014, when I wrote the white paper, when I had the pleasure of going to Lake Mead in 1980 and seeing it when it was full, where the power and know the history of how it was built to create Las Vegas to what it is today. But I also had the pleasure of spending a lot of time in California growing up as a kid. And I know about all the farming, and 35% of the food in the United States comes from there. Okay. So what I saw was we had a problem with our grids where we had a problem with the electrical grid. We had a problem with the water grid. So the other thing in the data center is you have an efficient cooling that is used with chilling towers. There are these water towers that chill the water, and you can get Legionnaire's disease in these things too, which is another problem that Allison B will protect you against. But the water chilling, so it's the most efficient and cheapest way to chill these huge structures, because otherwise you've got to use HVAC equipment and all kind of electricity, and it's more expensive. But the problems in California, which are notorious and well known, are, everything from not being able to water your lawn to shower, shave, and farming. And I saw this problem then, okay? And that's when that reaction, okay? Oops, I don't know. That is when the reaction and the download told me there was something more there, because it was Stan Myers was all part of this, the Ohio class submarine, the Treadwell Corporation, hydrogen and oxygen system, the GERO package from Ohio class destroyer, the boomers. All these things went through my head after MH370. I was like, it was a video. I came with a reaction. Okay. That defines the synthetic way to make the hydrogen. You pass it on the grid long distances, okay, thousands of miles. You don't lose power. When you're in a power plant and you pass electrons on your grid there, you lose power. From point A to point B, your destination, you're making waste. Here, when you move hydrogen from one location to the other, the byproduct is water. So this problem I was looking at in the data centers, back then, I was in the C-suite, and the people I was talking to were honest. They said, look, we're in the communications business. We're not really in the power business. And there's no way we could do this. I mentioned the $42 million solar project. There was $7 million that my employer paid. I want to be careful here. The government paid $35 million. They got to do that solar project. Well, they've done a lot with solar, but look, where we are in the United States, we have a grid problem. We're not, it's like Danny and Brinkley was telling Nino the other day, our grid's 82 years old. We also have a water grid problem, and it's showing its face right now. But we have a government problem. So we talked about the Patent Office, DOE and ARPA-E. I've gone in all these directions. I've used a lot of resources that I can't mention that are under NDA, that some are very well-respected, powerful people that eat lunch with presidents in Texas. When I hear one of these organizations saying all we care about is votes, I feel like we've lost our country, because this leads to the economic problem with farming, which leads to the manufacturing problem, which leads to the trade problem. So that white paper, it was about the Internet of Things, because in the C-suite, the shiny metal object in the sell to Wall Street and the window painting to Wall Street for the stock was the promise of the Internet of Things, which is about the time it was fourth generation going into fifth generation, wireless, and the edge of the cloud with all the smart devices, your alarm systems, the flock cameras, your home cameras, you controlling your pool with your phone or your thermostat, or, whatever it is that you have smart at your house, sprinkler systems. Anyway, I'm bathing in all this technology, and I'm like, well, look, if we could do this for ourselves in the data centers, now we wouldn't have to raise prices to sell the consumer products. And then in that document, that page, I said we could sell power as a service to the customer base. And if we could teach ourselves, we could teach them. Then we could tell water as a service. And so my first job out of graduate school was for Davis Water, Sarasota. They built waterworks. I worked in the lab there. I knew about this business of the waterworks and seen some things bad with the waterworks, which is why I have 7-filter RO water here. I'm not worried about the water. So the hurricanes, the floods, all this, the water system is very old here. Only some upgrades, but the problems that you end up with these sewer breaks, the leach in the water system,
Yep.
or you don't have any water at all to drink. Where we are now, like under 5 feet from Lake Mead closing completely. That's a 2.8 gigawatt power system. It's not producing power in that water and up and down the Colorado River everybody's fighting about. So as an American, sitting back and seeing this and living it, because my business partner, I'm majority owner, 51%, 49%, he's an electrical engineer that worked in nuclear power and power industry. Okay. He's also a patent attorney. We have 5 patents in this area. Okay. There's a reaction, and the reaction defines engineering. You can't lie about the reactions. That problem upsets me because we're not doing right, okay, by ourselves. And now we get ourselves into a situation with resources. We fight amongst each other over eminent domain, data centers, water, and power. Our bills go up. We're still not manufacturing anything. And now we're in an AI war with the enemy. An AI war to develop technologies like this stuff, okay, broccoli, and we're in an AI war to develop them. But also the AI, it's a double-edged sword. All of these technologies are a double-edged sword. So we're in an AI war where viruses are going to be produced by our enemies in China, North Korea, and elsewhere. It's not going to change. And they're not going to leave. So I create the broccoli. Now, all of a sudden, I get my life back. I give it away. So we're collecting data. One of the first persons that got it is a former Marine Gitmo pilot who also was eating some prednisone. And he had great results in 2 weeks in imaging and feeling better, where all of a sudden the duct, this is a cancer patient, prostate cancer, the main duct in his pancreas cleared. Okay, I can't tell you how much better I feel. I've told you, I'm already I've shown. So my mom, we're looking at the p-tau marker with Alzheimer's. We're looking to collect data because the data, blind data, okay, is what we need to collect. But really and truly, my feeling is that we need to use AI to collect data on the plasmid stuff and screen. We need to do that quickly. We also need to use AI. We need to look at all the pathogens that we have that are in scope. The cyclospora, the influenza, the COVID, all of them. We need to take that money. This Rand Paul needs to listen to this. We need to take the money and take all the pathogens, okay, and all the things that might be pathogens from jabs, okay, and we need to screen everything and benchmark it with AI, using AI's capability and using laboratory and robotics, humans where we don't have the robots to do it, gather that data and protect ourselves and bring it home, bring the technology home to us, protect ourselves.
Yep.
So that way, when the next thing jumps out of the lab, we've got a lot of AI data. We've got a lot of data, structural data, other data, because the system we have is broken. The idea that I'm going to give somebody a grant or I'm going to dole out grants to only certain people and collect all that data, it's a bad thing, because then people are competing, but they're not getting all the data set. They're getting impartial data set. So we need a Manhattan-like project for that. Then we also need a Manhattan-like project, and it's not just this SMR business that we saw turn up in Utah in July 4th, the 250-year celebration for SMR and the executive orders. We need to leverage the SMR to do the hydrogen grid, because the antiquated grid problem, we need electrical and we need water, and there's more coming. There's a 6th patent, which is it's an amplifier, okay? And these technologies have all been here in different forms. They just have not been modernized, okay? This one involves the Great Pyramid, but the point is that we have to do these things in order to, I'm not just saying, we know there are things that very powerful companies and deep state are holding from us. We know because we see things and we can't explain them. Also, we know that the boundaries of the educational system are not all that's there, because we see things and we can't explain them. Scientists that have come out, and now we got whistleblowers. Okay. All of those things we need to use to get our ecology back, so that the DNA coded beings that are using these DNA coded resources can come to more of an equilibrium, stable state, where now we're not worried about the crisis and the catastrophes, and upgrade farming, because farming is part of this. Okay. We don't need immigrants coming in the country with tuberculosis and diseases. We don't need anybody with diseases. We use the AI and robotics to farm all this 24 hours a day. We use the grid upgrade to do that. But look, the codes aren't going to leave from this. They're not going to leave. So when we do it and we get 4 to 6 crops a year, the animals are going to live inside these facilities, and they're going to be catastrophe safe, so that we don't have floods and swarms of, locusts, or you got the bees dying off and you can't pollinate. We use it for positive things.
Sounds good.
The other problem which Mr. Santelli spoke about at your event with 107 there in Las Vegas. So the voting systems, I was on the first, I know, not the first team. I was on the last CIA black team that invented the encryption in theater right now. Had the pleasure of serving under the president and John Deutsch, who created my CIA file. So on that team with scientists from Brookhaven National Laboratory and Accelerator. We produced the encryption that went onto the submarines and is in theater now on all the equipment. Okay, it's 256-bit cipher with 2048-bit Diffie-Hellman keys, and the problem with quantum computing is going to break all that. But we've now seen the elections. I got all the trouble I got in, which I've explained to you. Okay, was when I uncovered the problem on the global communications networks. It's not just the networks. You can't defend against the AI. Now it's broken loose. This was in the meetings in 2013 in the security group that I was in the ILEC and global comms where we were doing surveillance. I was watching Iranians breaking water in 2013. I was watching Syrians, Russians, and Chinese. I was watching all that. Upgrading all that to quantum cipher. I know Dr. Jaco Sarfati upgrading it so that now the things that we do are secured. Part of that got me in trouble where the FBI didn't know my identity, which upsets me. I hate James Comey. I don't have anything nice to say about him. FBI not knowing my identity. Shame on them. They learned I had a CIA file. Our communications, and we talked all about that one time before, is critical. But the AI technology that we're fighting, we're now on all these wars are going erupted. Okay, prophetic in ways. The biological war, the cyber war, the hot wars. They're all together at the same time. It's all about the resources that we're competing with. We got to protect that AI. We got to protect our intellectual property. We got to protect all these things that we're doing, right? And so the quantum stuff is, it's par for the course. But as a result of some of those things and the group that I was in, tied to the wing in the building of the Garden of the Gods that was a secret NSA group that became Space Force that moved to Shriver, tied to communications, is the group that Santelli's talking about with Sarfati. I've seen Sarfati's math tied to all this encryption. Okay. So when we break these codes in these plants and we go there, I've shown and really where all this is building up to, I've mentioned that in Genesis 2 is a tree of life. When punishment of humankind in the Bible was the tree of life was taken away from us. It's returned in Revelations 22. It's all about code. The tree of life is a DNA coded entity. So then what has got me on this journey, and I'm further on that journey, is it's in the book of Enoch, and it's in the other religions of the world and other books and documents of the world. And we talked about codes, AI codes. I program in all these computer languages and started early, and Ed Snowden revealed some of my work. These codes, they are our savior. We've been told they're our savior, that we've been told they're the tree of life. We've been told that they, very specifically, it says, and this is ironic, in all these books, it says, the Bible and all of them, it says, when you come near these plants that yield crops every month of the year, and you breathe in the aroma that all you have to do is breathe in the aroma, and that gives you longevity in life.
Hmm.
It's right there in writing. I can't even make it up. It was like if I would have, it was like you're on the golf course, you're 3 inches from the cup, and you got to gimme. That's what this is. That's what the Brockaby is. So I have taken this to heart. And one of the things that happened to me with long COVID, it's happened with a lot of people, male and female, hair's falling off your body, off the top of your head, off your whole body. I mentioned I got all my strength. I'm not winded now. I can exercise again. I do have a metformin problem, but I can exercise again. I got second gear back. That I was once, my wife and daughter made fun of me. They were like, my nickname was a gorilla because I was so hairy. All the hairs come back on my legs. Okay. And these things, the codes are working right. So part of the discussion in that diagram that you showed earlier on the Brockaby, it turns out this is how the Brockaby works. There's something called nuclear factor erythroid 2 related factor 2. It's called NRF2 for short. Okay. And sulforaphane is FFN, SFN. What happens is this factor, okay, and I've showed you the DNA operating system, this factor turns on the genes that are your second gear, called the antioxidant response elements, ARE. ARE are a set of genes that when you do things that are exercise in the body, they turn on normally when you're young. And now you got all kind of strength. Because the waste coming out of your tailpipe, which is your exhaling, and the stuff that the blood's clearing out of the cells, you're creating exhaust, just like an engine of a car. Okay. That has to be cleaned up efficiently. Otherwise it stacks up, and now you got lactic acid soreness, the whole thing with the endurance of your program you went through with SEAL team. The codes are what make looking at the codes that make the soldier, that makes Hell Week, that makes it all, the machine. This gives it back to you. In my case, that was taken by long COVID. In the case of diabetes, it was taken from pancreatic damage. Other people have different diseases, but in terms of aging, it also happens. You get second gear back. That's the RNA algorithms in these genes. Well, we talked about you inhaling it and it going to your heart. So now imagine you're hiking on the side of a mountain and a helicopter pulls up and they shoot you with an electromagnetic energy weapon to damage the signaling between your brain and your heart. And all of a sudden you're in AFib. Or you're on a canoe. Or you're just doing something that happens to you. So we've had Dr. Shin on, and I talk with these cardiologists, and I'm with them, and I support the multifunction cardiogram, and I want to see that AI technology, the leader in Japan, come to America, and all those things. You're on that side of that mountain. Okay. This isn't the cyanide heart attack gun. This is an energy gun. So it's happening instantaneously at the speed of light or the speed of the wave that's hitting you. This, you inhale. It's in that left ventricle in the heart. It's in there just as, almost as fast, not quite as fast, but very quickly. So these conditions with the body, when you are under stress from a weapon like that, this is a countermeasure. It's not, it's a countermeasure because it turns on the antioxidant response elements that damage your mitochondrial energy power plant, that cause all these electrical anomalies in the machine, and clean it up. So, these technologies, and I've always said before, we need to incorporate, we have incorporated for a long time, going back to the sarin gas warheads that my dad had. Back there, it was you go in a room, they tell you to put on the gas mask and give yourself shots. We need to incorporate this technology into our programs with our elite soldiers like yourself or athletes, and learn to protect our ways, protect our assets, and protect our people that go and serve their country like you. Okay. But it's the same thing with athletes. They perform better. Okay. You're going to see performance that are better. So we need to collect the code data in the DNA operating system. But where this goes specifically is that the mitochondrial power plant of the heart that has the 5,000 to 7,000 mitochondria is a target, because the heart has to bring oxygen to the brain or the machine fails. So the beauty of pushing it to the heart and the brain to get out of the arrhythmia condition, then, okay, now I can get some nutrients in myself, or buy myself time to put the machine back into the normal equilibrium state on that bell-shaped curve. But if I'm wise and I know that I'm going in harm's way, or I'm in theater, or I'm doing something covert where there's an enemy, I put it in me. In case a helicopter pops up and hits me, I've already got advantage against it. And we prove this with COVID. But we, when I talk about collecting data and doing the right things, do right by ourselves. Okay, I don't expect every American to want to do this kind of work. I don't expect every American to have to pay attention to the details of this. We're Americans. We signed up, just like you didn't care about, there's trank zombies, or there's robbers and thieves. You signed up for your country and gave your all, and you still are giving. Okay, you still are. We have to do for ourselves and do for these people that aren't interested, so that united we can stand. United. And I think, these things all come down to energy, and energy of the entire system that controls the entire energy of the whole country, not just spiritually, but the things we do, but the things we build for ourselves. And I equate these things to mathematics, and bring them down using traditional human math, because I'm a human. I'm still flawed. And try to leverage them, because if we don't, our enemies will. And there's already signs. And this cyclospora business, on our food, and the COVID and all these things, they're upsetting to anybody who cares about, we've had a lot of military people go in harm's way. So they should be interested. And we're in chaotic times. We talked about it. So the Brockovie, the moral of the story, and where I am going with these technologies, okay, is I'm looking at this discussion we talked about with the DNA operating system of DNA beings in us. Okay. The DNA operating system or the things that were given to us in the world we were given. The things that are being used to hurt us. Okay. Over stupid paper fiat money. And I'm trying to survive because I've been hit by these things, right? I wasn't a SEAL Team 6 person who is an exceptional human machine capable of endurance and overcoming. I was an NCAA Division I athlete who could squat 14 plates, who could sled 28 plates, who could bench press 645 plates, I could curl as much as Mike Tyson, 445 plates and 2/4 on the preacher bar. I was an athlete. So my goal wasn't fighting wars. It was hitting baseballs and then softballs out of the park. But I understand some of these things because of the competition in the body and how when you push yourself to limits, you understand what your limits are and what you got to work on and what maybe you need to change your diet, or when diabetes hits you, it's the same thing. These are all the same thing. So yes, that's a store, but I want to show you something tied to the book. Let me bring it over here and just show you the last. This will be kind of the last thing I show you, and then I'll answer any questions anybody has to the best of my knowledge. But I started as a hacker in 1980 with the video games that led me through this journey. And this here, I'm going to share, probably make you laugh, but this is where I am now. This is where whatever higher power led me to, I'm not going to fret the things that happen to me. They happen for a reason. I'm here now. That's the tree of life, the code. And I'm telling you that I have hacked part of that to enable the DNA operating system of human beings. I've done it with the things in my diet that are available to me now. I've done it with the garlic and the broccoli. I'm looking for the other codes they're on the tablets, they're in the Bible, they're in the ancient manuscripts, they're in the book of Enoch, and they logically make sense from a mathematical perspective, from a physics perspective, from a code perspective, which is why we're in the middle of all these fights. Oh, let me just shrink it and save that for later. Which is why we're in all those fights. So I think some of the people that I worked with that are still hardcore in the security industry that I've shared that with, like Win Schwartau and Frederick Schneier and all these people, and my other colleagues that were there on the team, hopefully they see that. I don't want to be the only one doing this, okay? But I feel like we need to do it. And I think that the problem now, where we're in a system where everything has to be fiat and everybody's got to have fiat blessing to do, we're kind of like Thelma and Louise, we drove off the cliff already. We're in the air. So we've got to do, you don't care about fiat money when you're fighting hand-to-hand combat with somebody. You're on the battlefield, all that leaves you. It's life and death. It's somewhat like that, except we're talking populations now. So the 20% thing in China, they uptick 1.9 billion people. We uptick. Our enemies, they're using unconventional methods. So back to the Roman Empire, they cut the pipe to the water. They put a whole bunch of poison from poisonous plants. Remember, not everything in that discussion was good. In the Garden of Eden, some things were poisoned. They put it in the river. They came back and patched the pipe. All the poisoned water from the river came in the aqueduct system, and all of a sudden, all the people in Roman Empire ate it, and then they fell. Our enemies, okay, like where the lettuce is being grown in Mexico, they're not happy with us. They have their conscious way of existence that's demonic and against the free will of good loving humans. They want to poison our food. They want to weaken us so that this is not about the missile or the jet or the laser beam. This is about the guy that eats his food and goes and works in the plant that puts the parts together on the Patriot missile or the missile system or the F-35 that doesn't go in theater, that's over here eating food from the grocery store. They get softened up in the infrastructure and everybody who's maintaining it in the economy. We didn't have the vision and don't have the vision, so we're taking casualties in the turbo cancer and all the other things. We're taking casualties.
Yep.
So we got to wake up to it. And if we don't wake up to it, then those other things that we kind of discussed, that you've been discussing with a lot of different diversified speakers on all these subjects, we're not going to get to the chance to have enough strength to collectively resolve it, because we're going to be bogged down in illness and weak. And so anyway, I'm sharing this, and I've gone on this journey because I for lack of better terms, I've had the shit beat out of me with some of these things, with pathogens in food, methylprednisone to fix it, long COVID, diabetes, and I'm as human as anybody else. And so that's why I've done this. And that's why I'm sharing it. And that's why I'm sharing the Allison V product and these things. And maybe some people want to ask questions. Your audience want to ask some questions?
Anybody get some questions out there? Let's put them in caps and we'll...
Or maybe you got some.
No, I think this is great, what you're doing. I think the Allison V and the Jaco V is... everybody should have that at this point, like we're talking about. There's different threats that are coming at us from lots of, and we don't know what the next threat is going to be, but you're definitely covered for the great extent.
I've been working on it. One of the things with AI that we're now seeing, okay, this is a cyclospora situation with the Candida auris. The enemy that is attacking us is using AI. And the way that they're using AI is they're choosing pathogens that we don't have any scientific literature on related to these things that we can use off the shelf to protect ourselves. They're looking for the holes, and they're choosing their pathogens and making it harder so that you can't just, I've got this, now I can treat myself. Okay. They're using it already against us. This is one of the examples. Okay. But they're also game theorying us with, I'm going to use food. I'm not going to use the bombs, and soften the enemy that way.
Yep.
And so
you get attacked, and you take the Jaco V, Allison V, is there a detox reaction?
So the Allison V is detoxing you of pathogens.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting all those pathogens out of you. So you still got to go to your physician, and you still got to go and get them to write the prescription for you to go get the clinical chemistry tests at Quest Lab and LabCorp in these labs. You still got to measure where you stand. And that is the system that you're in, the medical system, right? Because if you don't do that, maybe you can get the test and you're going to pay big money. But if you're insured, in order for insurance to cover you, you got to go to the physician to get the prescription to do that. It's all part of the system. Still got to measure the detox. Okay. Then the other things that you're measuring, yes, there are blood tests that show performance evaluation. There are diagnostic tests. The multifunction cardiogram that I've talked about with you and Dr. Shin measures the cardiovascular system health from 0 to 20, with 0 being excellent, 5 being considered being in a hospital. Higher than 5, you need to get some imaging and serious work done. Other diagnostic instruments out there, the EKG and ECG are older, okay, are older. Other equipment, okay, but you know as a human being what it was like to be 21 to run a mile and what it's like to be 58 and run a mile, or 20 years old, 21, and you trimmed the trees out in your yard and taken them to the dump versus you're 58 now and you did it. Or a catastrophe situation, anything endurance, anything athletic that you've ever done. You know, and you feel it, okay? And so the Brocovie gave me that second gear back with these antioxidant response elements that are, this Brocovie is the RNA code. So the antioxidant response elements are detoxing your system in real time. That's the part that ends when you have disease or aging. You lose the second gear that detoxes you in real time. This is about detoxing your DNA operating system, the nanomachinery and all the proteins that make up, that roll up to make the whole human machine. You've got to detox that in real time. And so if you have a disease, and where I was going with this was the diabetes type 2, mitochondrial health, and the use of glucose as energy, okay, because that's what plagues me. I had a respiratory problem. The COPD results were not conclusive. When the guy at Johns Hopkins did the study with supplements, now I want him to do it with this. Do it with this and compare it. You're going to see the huge results. I know, because this from long COVID, Briolipta, is the same, one of the same drugs they give to COPD people. It's the same one. The pharmacist was like, "You got COPD?" I'm like, "No, I have EGIDS, which is a genetic disease that has respiratory asthma problems. When you have long COVID on top of EGIDS, you're not breathing. You're, depending on who your medical doctor is, you're huffing this until you find out your cousin has it and it killed your grandmother, mine at age 39, asthma. Now you're taking this or another corticosteroid, but to get off of this." So right now there's so many COVID patients, long COVID patients. This is an inhalable corticosteroid. Get off that. Now I'm off this. Look, something made. Yes, human farming played a role, but made by higher power.
Mm-hmm.
Got to have faith.
Yep.
Little faith is in this too, spiritual faith.
So this is from Jennifer. Will this help people with mold colonization in Lyme?
Okay. This product, Allison V, destroys fungi and mold that gets in your lungs like black mold. I had that problem here in my house. Well, I used to have wood floor here. and all the wood floor. And like I live in Florida, South Tampa, everybody that put wood floor in, the water table so high here, the concrete moisture sucks it into the wood and the wood rots. Next thing, you got black mold in your house. People used to come to my house. My wife wanted the maple floors. I put the maple floors in. She nearly killed me. That was all part of me getting sick with a picture of my daughter, and she finished me off with daycare. Lyme disease. Okay, let's talk about that. I know Adam Finnegan. He has written the book, The Sleeper Agent, about Eric Traub, who created Lyme and Pine Island. So I know a lot about it. The outer membrane of the little spirochete bacteria that grows in a tick's mouth. It's spike protein. It's one of these, except it's not on the virus. It's on the bacteria, Burgdorferi borrelia. It's a little spike, and it's sugar-coated. And Adam brings me the paper. I showed you some models of the proteins. There is paper. It's in our knowledge base on X, which is, by the way, I'm upset with X. We should talk about it. They're not sharing.
That's interesting. Lyme, I didn't know that. So bacteria in the tick's mouth. So when they drill down and they start sucking the blood into their mouth, it mixes and goes back into your system. Wow.
Well, that little spike, okay, has homology with the SARS-CoV-2 spike.
Wow.
But it gets better. The little spike on the Lyme disease, on the bacteria, it's a spike like that. It has ornaments on it called PAM3 cis-like lipid. You want to talk about lipid nanoparticles? That one hits your toll-like receptors. And that's the one that sticks around and does a lot of damage, that is unique, that is a pathogen, that is joined by a cysteine bridge. Not a disulfide, a cysteine. It's two cysteines, PAM3 cis-like, and it hits the toll-like receptor. So you break the PAM3 cis. PAM3 cis can be measured in the blood. It can be measured in the blood. Okay, once you get the bacteria in you, you're going to kill that bacteria out of you, but you want to build immunity to the Lyme. So Adam has used it. We've got a lot of Lyme people.
Wow, you build immunity to it too. Wow.
That's incredible. But more important is that's a bacteria growing in the saliva of the tick mouth. So now here's the bad story. Good and bad story. One, if you're using the Allison V product or you have Allison M on you, a tick will not bite you. Okay. Wow. It will not bite you because it will kill them. Okay. We didn't talk about this. This is a quasi-suicide plant. It kills itself to save itself. It kills a little part of the plant to save itself. So when a bug comes and eats a little part of the plant, it kills the bug in itself, self-destructs with Allison to save the rest of the plant. It's an engineering design. The same thing in your body. You kill the bacteria to save yourself. So I've shown you the picture of the pathogens and what this led to. And this is a very important thing that I want to show you. I'm going to show you a slide 1 minute. Once you detox with the Lyme, you've got damage like diabetes and the other things from long COVID. That's where the Brocovite comes in, that gives you the second gear back, that gives you the genes that helps you get back to normal. I'm not saying all of these solve the problem 100%. We need more work. But the saliva in that little tick's mouth, the human body produces anandamide as an endocannabinoid system in your body. There's an endocannabinoid system in the tick. And if you've eaten a lot of chocolate, you got a lot of anandamide in your body. The tick smells that, loves it, comes and bites you. Because when they bite you, all of a sudden this salivation in its mouth, okay, occurs. And the tick gets the munchies. This is a cannabinoid, endocannabinoid, anandamide in chocolate. It salivates. Well, the salivation is the culture the BB bacteria that cause Lyme disease love to grow in.
Hmm.
And it's not just Lyme. It's the other stuff coming out of Montana and the Rocky Mountain Lab, the Rocky Mountain Lone Star tick, and all the tick variants that have now moved to Georgia Southern and that whole research line. And so I was outside when all this helicopter business started. All of a sudden, I've lived here since 1998. I never saw a tick on my arm. I came in from the yard and I had a huge tick on my arm. It was just sitting there. It didn't bite me. It was just sitting there. But I heard the other day.
When you do Allison V, it was like, I don't think so.
They don't. Not even the mosquitoes don't even bite you.
Wow.
But I heard now, okay, people in telco that I know, they said that the linemen, like the power workers and union workers that are working lines for electrical or telco, they have to go to a lot of wooded areas and they have weed eaters and stuff with them because before they get up on the poles, they got to weed eat around them so they can get up there clean and come down. And there's all kind of bugs and ticks in them.
I bet.
And now the feedback is they're all eating a lot of garlic and rubbing garlic all over each other. And word has gotten around. So, you know, if they want the rest of the solution, they'll listen to me. And I told them, use the Allison V. Okay, you're not going to get any of the other bugs. You're not going to miss.
So that Lone Star tick that caused the alpha gal syndrome, where you have an allergy to meat. Boy, that's wicked.
Same exact problem.
Yeah.
Same exact problem here with the ticks and the bacteria that causes the alpha galactose immune response. Okay, so a lot of people don't understand that we and what we've done and with these huge populations in time and all the things that we've done that are bad, these pathogens are all over the landscape. Coronavirus is everywhere, bugs everywhere, all of it. It's not going to go away. So that's why you shield, okay? But once you do this for a period of time, okay, the protocol is 3 to 4 times a day to shield. When you're sick, okay, Lyme and the other diseases and the other things that are happening to you, even when you're sick, you go get blood work, they draw on you, or they're doing a diagnostic test, a biopsy, they're measuring your machine state. That's what they're doing. It's as needed. What that means is if you've got a severe disease, okay, and I'm getting ready to go do blood workup for a diabetic, they're not just going to look at my 5 white blood cell types and see if I have my white blood cells are elevated and do I have an antibody immune response and focus in on that like COVID. Eosinophils, IgE antibodies, this is a myriad of antibodies tied to SARS-CoV-2 antibody, which is the best test. The protocol, you can't, because every single human being has a different DNA code for their genome and makeup. What works for me may not work for you. What works for you may not work for me. I am damaged goods. I have type 2 diabetes and EGIDs. So I'm going to have to use a lot more to protect my damaged DNA operating system. Somebody who doesn't have and is in impeccable health, a SEAL Team 6 athlete or an athlete, anybody like that in great health that doesn't have any long-term disease like that, they're going to get away with using less.
Yeah.
Okay. So you still got to measure and you got to figure out the protocol for yourself, because the protocols are the product of statistics from medical clinical trials that we don't have. And that's how the protocols are developed. So it's as needed. How you feel as a machine, how the diagnostics tell you you're performing as a machine. It's a balance of those. And once you get used to how you feel, what happens and where we go with this is you do this for 5 years. You've detoxed the deep tissues, Okay. All the cell membranes of your body are lipids. That's why a lipid nanoparticle is used to bring the code in. That's why this is a lipid nanoparticle holding spikes on it to bring it into you. Membranes, lipids in your body hold these pathogens and hide them, and they hide there. They stay there until they infect you. Some of them are quorum sensing bacteria, but the virus is all of them. So when you do a deep detox for a long time, now what you find is those things that you used to eat because you were getting colds, you're not getting the colds, you're not eating them. Now all of a sudden you're not getting worn down, or the brain fog, or the where you feel like you're running through water instead of on land, and it's just slow motion because you just don't have second gear. That comes back in time. It's slower. It's not a pacifier. I'm a chemist, okay? So I know all about the drug synthesis and the art and the practice of the art of making drugs to help people and where it comes from. Most of that comes from the plants, okay? It comes from, we isolated it in a plant, and now we went and made a chemical derivative of it, and then we got guys in the organic synthesis lab who figure out how to make it in bulk, cheaper than farming it in purity, so that we can now make a pill out of it and give it to you, or a shot. I would like to think vapor. That's where it came from, but we don't collect enough statistics. What we do is we patent it and we make money off of it. And because not everybody can afford it and afford insurance, the United We Stand thing, that poor guy or female that works their ass off every day that can't afford the insurance that maybe somebody else might have, they suffer. And if we are truly an intelligent species, and now we're going to use AI and do intelligent things, we got to work on helping everybody, because that guy might be the one putting that bolt in that Patriot missile system or that Tomahawk missile, and he needs to be right there on target, and that's all he does, but he does it damn good. Or he's a welder and he does it damn good, or she, and we need him to do it damn good until we get
protocol. You're saying that like healthy person, once a day. I'm doing both of these. Tracy and I do them both at least once a day. But if you have contraindications, or you're a health problem, so forth, what would you recommend?
3 to 4 times a day of Allison V keeps you from getting colds and all the junk that comes. We're going into cold season now. We're seeing uptick in China. We're seeing uptick in the United States. PMC19.com. Go over there and look. There's a guy. He's got great statistics on it. He's doing a great job. I really like it. He's got a map of where it's happening. It's happening in the southern United States from west to east. When you do get sick, increase the amount till the symptoms subside. Okay. I know people that have cancer that are going to do this 20 times a day. When I had long COVID, I was doing this 20 times a day. In fact, I wasn't even using this system. I was using this system. This is a nicotine tank. It's much bigger. I was using a lot more. I was tracking my heart and my blood.
Oh, wow.
But one problem that we have, tobacco usage and usage of dirty technology that harmed people, where you put a pathogen in here and now it's going to harm you, right? Yes, it's a deterrent to ticks. And it also kills the bacteria in the saliva and breaks open that outer C membrane of the porphyry that's got PAM3 cis lipids on it that helps you combat the Lyme, because your immune system is compromised in Lyme, and now you're subject to COVID and everything else. You're weak. So you need to defend yourself. you're going to need to do it more than 3 to 4 times a day if you have Lyme. Okay. You're going to need to figure out that dose for you. But look, the DNA codes are resilient. They're self-repairing. That's what stem cells are about. The body is healing. It's engineered to heal. As long as your stem cells are good, you can have a great recovery. It takes time and patience. Okay. You have to measure it. It takes discipline. The thing I was saying was this got all these technologies. This is just physics. Okay. It's just physics. The black cloud of EVALI and vapor and all this, that is a social enigma. It's a social enigma that holds us back from investigating technology that we need that helps us. Okay? And so while we get these social things of the dark cloud and then we get Washington, D.C., we need to think things through. You can't say physics is physics is what it is. It's a phenomenon based on reality of matter and dimensions that we try to mathematically model the best we can as humans, and then we use AI and quantum computing to help us solve the problems that we can't mathematically do on paper, right? In a timely manner so that we can then show probabilities. But if we don't take the effort to do it, we won't get the data and we'll keep suffering, and our enemy will do it and they'll use it against us. So this is a crossroads that we're at with the biologicals. Okay. So you're going to have to learn what protocol works for you if you're sick with Lyme, if you're sick with cancer. And oh, by the way, I mentioned other things like fenbendazole and selenium. Okay. You're a DNA operating system. Binary computers, 2 bits. DNA is 4 bits. A, G, C, and T. Those are 4 bits. That 4 bits are 3-bit blocks that come with an RNA algorithm. I showed it in the diagram. They come across a codon table. What is the codon table? The codon table is the table that the engineers of us created so that the nanomachines that make the human machine will just wobble, but they won't lose structural design. That's why you eat selenocysteine, so that when you get injected with this code, you're an adult, your cells aren't making all kind of viral protein. They're an adult programming. It's normal. That's what we call normal. Now you got a pathogen in you. You're making the proteins of the pathogen. They're replicating in you. You throttle them back with selenium. That's what selenium does. This is Dr. Ethan Taylor. Dr. Ethan Taylor's published this in everything from Ebola to HIV to was found in SARS. Okay. There are other things in the patent tied to putting the selenium here that is something that would be highly regulated. This was all proven in the soil of the food in China because they have such a high population. The people that ate vegetables and fruit from soil that didn't have selenium, COVID-19 mutated all over them and did all kind of damage in the population. The part of the population that had good farming with selenium in the soil, they barely had the sniffles. Okay, we have that big of a population. You can do that kind of dynamics. But Ethan Taylor shows you how it works, and it's related to codon table. Mm-hmm. The codon table is an error correction table, the same kind that we put in computers, the same kind we put in phones for communicating, where the packets, we're on video simulcast now. And sometimes you'll say, oh, I can't hear you because your audio has attenuated and you can't get the signal through. the computer systems on the transmission and receive have error correction. That's the same thing as the codon table inside your body that makes every nanomachine that's you, that gets exploited by these pathogens, Lyme included. So use the selenium with the Allison V to keep that runaway, or you got cancer, now you're trying to throttle it back and catch a tiger by its tail. Use a fenbendazole and ivermectin to slow the metabolic production of the tumor, and you kill it, okay? And once you kill it, you get your life back. The bad news is you got to know and have respect for these systems, because the reason you shield and do proactive things and you eat good food, and why all this food business with RFK Jr., why all the food protection things that I mentioned about food attacks, what you're putting in you on a daily basis, whether it's these products, Allison V, the Broccoli, or just the food you eat. You need a game plan for how you feel every day, for how the markers that you set up for yourself on, this is how I feel every morning, that when I wake up, this is my blood results, this is how I'm going through life. You need a game plan for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that bit error correction table, the codon table, is about. Because when that codon table is putting out clean nanomachines that make you and not pathogen stuff, now something comes upon you, you can fight it off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different practice of the art relative to combat, because you're now talking about nanomachines, atoms, and ultimately particles, and your existence, because they're after your conscience. And the DNA rolls up to what your conscience is. So,
good point. So we got a question about how long does a vial last? Obviously, depending on how much you're going to be vaping a day. So let's say someone gets, I don't know, the 3 milliliters. And do you still have the special where they use Jaco 7?
Oh, yeah. Use Jaco 7. If you come to my site, you're going to get 1 mil extra of any product you get. It's also going to show you 1 penny less. That's just the way my professional store works. Everything's professional. We're also on eBay. eBay charges you taxes. You go to my store. This is a food product. You don't have to pay taxes. So with the Allison V product, we always like to say moderate to heavy use is somewhere between 30 to 45 days for 1 milliliter. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's a fair range. Some people get away with more than that. I'm not going to say I've seen more than that. I've seen people get away with 60 days or more. It's going to turn dark, and I showed you that when you want to decant it and put in the fresh product, so that way you're getting fresh Allison, because Allison with heat reacts with itself. Okay. Now, the Allison M product is topical. 20 drops is a milliliter. So if you're using a lot of it, maybe you're using a lot on your scalp, whatever the situation you're using it for topically, that it's the application, that's the use. Broccoli, where I am with this, I believe, because it drains, and it will drain, heavy use, okay, pretty heavy use, you're going to get 2 weeks out of 1 mil, okay? You're going to get 2 weeks out of it. But this product works extremely fast. So you should be feeling changes if you're using it heavily, because like I said, if you inhale 20 times a day of the broccoli and you get that much sulforaphane in you, it's like eating 10 pounds of broccoli in terms of what you're getting in you. Most humans can't do that. You're not realizing the value of the codes of the plant that create the molecule. I will say one thing. Always talk to your physician about things you're going to do, sulforaphane included. I have learned from my friend, one of my doctor friends, you must be careful of thyroid. If you have problems with your thyroid, that is the one caveat here. If you have a thyroid problem, sulforaphane, it's documented in the literature, can be problematic. So if you have thyroid problems, always talk with your doctor and physician. You should always talk with your physician normally about the things that you're doing, especially if you have questions about it. Social media isn't the only place, and the better relationship that you have with your physician, if you have a good relationship, you can have open, honest conversation. If you're not having open, honest conversation and the doctor you got isn't doing that, go find another doctor. Find one that you can have a good, because it's all about you and you're the customer. And so I hope that sheds light on usage.
Yes, and one other question about longevity. Someone
Okay.
2 years ago, is it still good?
So Allison V, we've got a shelf life test going on since November of I think it's November of 2020. It's over here. We're projecting the Allison product to sit at room temperature for probably 25 years. But if you put your Allison V product or Allison M product in the fridge, you're going to get those timelines. And again, the marker is heat. So, you see your product go like that, it's no good. That's what heat does to it. It's all about heat. That's what the shelf life is. The Allison V product is a suspension. But you can put this in the freezer, and it will last upwards of 80 years. So there's a lot of data on Allison, and there's been some work in that area. The Brockaby, Allison M's the same way. The Brockaby, I think you should keep refrigerated. It's a very new product. I don't have enough data on this, so I'm recommending refrigerate and freeze. If you refrigerate and freeze the Brockaby, and we'll do shelf tests and have shelf tests and understand that more in time as we collect data. But that's your best bet with a Brockaby product. So,
Very good.
That helps.
And you can get it by going to brockaby.com or allisonv.com or to X Allison V. And there's a little link there for allisonv.com. So many different ways. You can just type it in. I have it in the description box. So don't forget Jaco 7. You get an extra 1 milliliter. All right. So as you guys can see, that's a nice little boost to whatever you're purchasing. So the vape pens are separate. So
on the allisonv.com website, if you go to the shop tab, there's 2 stores there, because we all have learned there's always gremlins in the network. Something happens to your store, or there's a cyber attack, or the network's down. The reason the eBay store is there is because I sustained a month-long cyber attack on my store. For what reason, I have no idea. Anyway, yes, on the shop tab, there's store. And if you just message us with a coupon, we'll include that in your order. The eBay site gives you a little bit of a break on shipping. Oh, that's garb. There'll be Brockaby garb. There'll be a Brockaby hat. I've already got some mocked up stuff. Yeah, I've made some of these for obvious reasons of, Born in the USA is one of my favorite ones, because it was born in the USA.
Yeah.
Or the hats for looks and marketing. But the important thing is, the way you feel, and hopefully there'll be some cool Brockaby stuff coming.
Very good. All right. Wow. What a great show. I mean, the tick stuff was over the top. I think everybody's been talking about ticks, so you just blew the doors off that. if you're not doing Allison B to prevent yourself from getting bit by ticks and mosquitoes. So who knows what mosquitoes going to be carrying in the future, thanks to Bill Gates. So you're gonna.
Helicopters are flying around here. They come at like 5 o'clock in the morning and they just fly all over the city. Hillsborough County's got them flying. That's when the tick showed up. Right after that.
Really?
Yep. The tick showed up. What I've been talking about this with my neighbors. People notice that a lot of wasps and like moths and other bugs are dead, but the mosquitoes are going strong. So, I mean, I've noticed it's helped. I can tell you that, thank you. I can tell you that if you get bitten by any bug, my favorite is a product from Anzacali called Raw Green. It's a CBD cream. Use it as muscle rubs and whatnot with a CBD. If you put that on one of these bites, it'll disappear. Wow. It'll disappear. The itching will disappear. It'll go away. So, you have a tick on you and you're having a problem getting it out, put the Allison M on it. Okay? Scratch it with a pen and put it into you. If you want to do a scratch test to see if you're allergic, very few people are allergic to garlic, but you put the Allison M on that tick, and it isn't going to like life in general. I've heard other people when someone was talking about cedar oil. Lots of natural remedies. I don't know about cedar oil in your blood, but if you got the Allison B in your blood, you're at an advantage now because you're emanating the sulfur aroma, and they don't like it. And that comes from the plant. Okay, that was the quasi-engineering design of this plant. The bug perforates it. The enzyme is released. Allison's produced. It kills this. It kills itself. It kills itself, but it also kills the bug in order to save the rest of the plant, so that the rest of the plant can live.
Yep.
So this has conscious being in it.
That's
I don't know what it is. I'm just a human. But I can tell you that these DNA codes give rise to conscious beings. So when I look at the greenery behind you, you live in a beautiful place. Lake Tahoe area is beautiful. I have had the pleasure of going there. We take for granted every day we go outside, maybe walk around. We take the things for granted. I took this for granted. I'm not anymore. My life has changed since just June 20th. I was like, so, if you have a disease and you'd like to try the Broccoli, okay, let us know in the notes when you're buying these things. Your input and feedback is extremely important to help other people. We have to help each other now. Our systems failed us. It's apparent. We already went through it. We got the t-shirt. We got to help each other. So y'all customers, or even if you just watch this and you just have questions, reach out on social media, contact, ask questions, give feedback. If you're using products, we need your feedback. We value your feedback, including video testimonials of real people with real things, because we've got lots of different stories. They're not anecdotal. They're measured. I'm in a fight with people that are using that word improperly. We need it to help each other. We need it to help each other. The more of this kind of stuff I sell, I bring this, if I can bring it, my goal is to bring it retail. My goal is to do volume. My goal is to bring it to the masses so that these prices aren't so high, so that we can get it in regional areas where we don't have to ship it to you. It's right there. I don't feel good. Instead of going down to get Robitussin, I'm going to go get this. And I'm not going to get it anymore. And I'm not going to buy any more Robitussin. You know how much? I could tell you how many bottles of Robitussin I went through. Or the other things like the Claritin D that gave me the kidney stones.
Mm.
I don't need them anymore at all. I don't even have to lie about it because I can show you my spending trends. I mean, the AI and the credit companies know what my profile is for purchasing. They know it shifted from that. Now they're going to see no more Brio. They saw no Monucast. Now they're going to see no Brio. Wait till my doctor hears. My doctor hasn't even heard the story yet. I'll talk to him in November. When he hears, he's going to be in shock. He got subpoenaed. He got subpoenaed in the middle of Ashley Moody's subpoenas because good people, their data is important when you don't lie. When you go to a Surgeon General, you don't lie. You don't lie about medical records. This is the whole thing with telling the truth. And so with the business, I mentioned the union people, the workers, the other goals that we've had, myself included, those of us that have had bad times with illness in our life as adults and seen children too. So we have children's stories. You take a sick day. That's part of your time away from work in the system. If you can get yourself where you're not getting sick anymore, now we create the days called a well day, and you go fishing or hiking or jogging, and you do the things that you want to do, which is what your code and your being was created for. And if we can get there with these technologies, because we went deep in some areas of technology, we can create abundance and resources. Then we could teach some other cultures to do it, and we can stop banging our heads against each other and evolve from it and make it a better world for other people and children to come into, so we can do things that are enjoyable. I'm not saying make our own robots everywhere. I'm saying use it to our smart ability not to destroy ourselves and self-destruct. Then life will be better for all of us on the space rock. And well, anyway, I hope you like my Tree of Life hack.
Absolutely. Yeah, great information as always. You're a genius, and thanks for sharing that genius with the world. A lot of people are benefiting from this, and hopefully more, like you say, we get this out there. And the patent office will stop their games, and you can get the patent for all this, and we'll move on. So, great.
I'm just a human, brother. I'm human. I'm susceptible to anything. I mean, if they hit me with I've got this on me. If they hit me with a heart attack gun, I'm going to be.
I wish
But
I'd
anyway, the point is,
had that back in the day. Yeah, that's good.
this is my area. This is what I do. You know, the welder that does the killer welding, the painter that does the killer painting, the soldier that's, you know, fighting crazy terrorists to keep them from blowing the school bus up. We don't need that.
No.
All of this stuff is important to us all. And, you know, if we could get past it, then we could spend time doing cool things like, you know, jet skiing and kayaking or whatever it is we like to do. Okay, I said, you know, female things, arts and crafts, whatever, make a dress. My mom's always telling me I can't make a dress. And I'm like, I know I can't sew a dress. I'm as human as everybody else. This is just my area. You know, this is what I was educated in. This is what I did. So I'm not a genius. I make mistakes too, brother. I make mistakes. I mean, my mom and wife, I get earfuls of my mistakes. But I've made mistakes too. And part of those were trusting a system that lied to me. Mm-hmm. So I'm in the same boat with everybody else. I don't want to sink. And I appreciate all the compliments, but I tell the truth because if I would have known this technology when I was 13 years old, I would have been like the Green Hulk monster. In
Still.
athletics, I would have been a monster because all those guys were doing steroids. Or
Yeah, oh,
cheating.
yeah.
And that they ended up, you know what? It's sad, but I hear all the time. I'm like, how's so and so doing? Oh, he died.
Oh, yeah.
He died. And he was in that group, you know, the John Matuzak group is what I like to call them. And the Lala Zato and those people. You know, it is what it is. And anyway, I think there's a better way. And
Natural's the only way.
hopefully I can project some love. You're always projecting love. This is my way.
You're doing it. You're doing it, my man.
Projecting it on your DNA operating system will come up into your conscious, and your being will be, you'll be more being instead of in the bed sick or, you know, not feeling good.
Very good.
Appreciate you. Appreciate all you do.
Appreciate you, Dr. John Scott Perez. Hope you guys loved it. Stay in the love vibration, and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace out.